in Universal Life, there is a fee chart. So the fee chart, that's, if you guys remember the presentation, when we talk about the leaky pipe system and how Universal Life works in our presentation, it has the cost of insurance and it has the fees associated with the policy. So these companies are crazy. They just charge these random fees that they charge with a policy just for having it, a monthly fee, an administrative fee, all these random fees. And usually it's a absorbent amount of money that people don't realize is not even going towards their policy. It's just some random fee. So that's there. Sometimes there's surrender charges. So a surrender charge is if somebody figures out, this is what we say, if somebody figures out that they got screwed by having this policy, this is how much the company is going to charge them from their cash value to cancel it. So I'll show you guys a table, but if their cash value says they have 5,000 and their surrender charge is 3,000, then now that's going to be subtracted from their cash value if they cancel the policy. So that's in there. Then there's the cost of insurance table. So there's a rising cost of insurance in Universal Life, and that's what causes these types of policies to depreciate and decrease over time and eventually lapse. So a lot of times people look into cash value because they want something that is permanent, that will cover them for their whole life. But with Universal Life, in most cases, it's not permanent and it's not going to cover them for their whole life because of this increasing cost of insurance. Then the next thing is the table of guaranteed values. So that's the cash value. I'm going to show you guys. There's a difference between the policy value, which is what it accrued, and then there's a surrender value, like I was saying, the amount of money that you would get after the surrender charge. And some contracts may have an illustration, and the illustration will actually show you sometimes the specific time frame, how much years it will be before the policy lapses, how much cash value has grown, what premiums they've paid into it so far. And sometimes that's critical because that's what the agents may use to actually sell the policy. They may say, hey, look at this, look at how much investments you can have, but then it may not be the guaranteed information that's going to actually happen in the policy. So I'm going to show you guys that here in an actual policy. Give me a second. I'm going to pull it up here. Whoops. All right, guys. So this is a policy, an older policy that we have trained on before. The great thing about picking up policies, guys, I know now we're online, so it's a little hard to pick up a policy, but people can email you their policies. We got this policy from Samir, and we train on it. We use the same one every time because it's very simple to kind of go through. So when you get the policy here, you see right at the top, sorry. It says that it's flexible premium adjustable life insurance, right? So just like I said, if you see that, that is Universal Life. So that's right there on the front page. Then you're going to look at, you'll see the rating, preferred smoker. So their premiums are going to be higher than the average person. Then you see their age when they got it, their coverage, amount, face amount, right? And the issue date. So all the things that we talked about earlier, you want to find that stuff immediately and take note of it. Now, when we scroll on, there should be a policy data page or a summary page. So same information was repeated at the top. So we'll look at the second section here. So now it's bringing up the death benefits. Which option? So it says option 1, which means it's level. The death benefit is not going to increase. So we want to find that. But then we see over here that there's an asterisk. So let's go ahead and read that. Obviously, we have the monthly premium. They're paying $125 a month. $125 a month, 43-year-old for $100,000. That's expensive. Obviously, when you think about them being tobacco user, that's probably why. But when we read this star, it says right there on the front page specifically, we have that written, that your premiums may not be enough to continue the policy. So it says, it is possible that coverage may expire prior to the maturity dates shown, where either no premiums are paid following the payment of the first year's premium. That's simple, basically saying if you don't pay, your policy will cancel. But if you do pay, it says subsequent premiums are insufficient to continue coverage to such date. So it can expire even if you continue to pay the $125 a month, they may not have enough to continue the coverage. And that's on the first page. And a lot of people just miss that, right? So we show the client that, and then we continue moving on. So one of the things that I told you guys to look for is fees. So in the policy, there will be a chart that goes through fees and the surrender charges. So all of these numbers are calculated here. I'm going to show you where they how they came about. So here there's a maximum policy fee of $10. So that's just flat off the bat, $10. Premium expense charge, 6%. So what is that 6% of? What they're paying monthly. So someone would do 125 times 6%, and that's where we got, I believe, the $750 here, right? So that is the premium expense charge. So that's also coming out. Then here, the monthly administrative expense charge per thousand of face amount. So now you're paying 8 cents per thousand, which they have 100,000 of coverage. So you would do 100 times 0.08, that's another $8. So you add all of that up, you only have pretty much $100 left after the fees. So they're paying 125, $25 went straight just to fees right off the bat. Now, if we look down a little bit more, you'll see the surrender charges. So most companies' surrender charges go for about 10 years. This policy has an extremely long surrender charge period of 20 years. So what you'll notice in a surrender charge is that the charge goes down, it decreases over a period of time. So in the first year, it's $3,000. After 10 years, it's $2,000. After 20 years, it finally gets to zero. So that's the fee they're going to charge from their cash value if they decide to cancel the policy. Now, this is critical, if they do not have any money in the cash value, it does not mean that they have to pay this money out of pocket. This money only gets subtracted if there is a cash value. So that's important, because sometimes clients will ask, well, if I cancel, I have to pay them $3,000? No, only if you have cash value of that amount, then they're gonna take the fee from that. So that's the surrender charge and the fees, guys. Now here, this is going to show, actually, I think I might want to show the next page first. Yeah, so what I want to do, yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just had a quick question about the charges. So let's say, how do we know if there is a cash value attached? Do we look at the type of, you may have mentioned it, I may have missed it. Do we look at the type of benefit, the death benefit?
So
how do we know if there's a cash value present?
Yeah. So I'm going to show you, there's going to be a table. So there's either an illustration page or a cash value table, and you'll know if there is one available. So I'm going to show that.
Okay.
Yeah. So before we look at that, I want to show the cost of insurance table, right? Because the fees and the cost of insurance comes out first, and then the remaining amount of money will go into the cash value. So I'll show you guys that afterwards. So when you pull this up, you want to find the table of guaranteed maximum monthly cost of insurance, and it's usually going to be broken down here per thousand. So how do you calculate this? You find the table and you find what, either sometimes the policy will say policy year here, or it'll say insurance age or client's age. So you want to make sure that you look for whichever one applies to where they're at now. And if we look here, the person had the policy for 20 years. So we were looking at year 20. So you take whatever number is here and you multiply it by the amount of coverage they have. So per thousand, they had 100,000 of coverage, multiply it by 100. Now you're at $240, right? So when you look here, their cost of insurance is $240 by the time they've had the policy for 20 years at age 63. Now, what I usually will ask the client before I calculate numbers is, what do you notice, Mr. and Mrs. Client, about these numbers here? What do you notice that's happening? And they usually will say, oh, it's going up. Exactly. So right then and there, before even doing the numbers, they already know that their cost is going up. But from when they started to by the time they get to 60, this person was 43 when they had it, when they got it originally, their cost of insurance is going to be $240 when they were only sending the company $125 a month. So that means that unless they start paying more premiums, their policy is going to start to decrease in value and then eventually lapse. So this is really where you want to make sure that you're really good at explaining that. And then Trishana, this is where the cash value comes up. So there's going to be a table of guaranteed values. That table of guaranteed values is going to show you sometimes what they're paying per month or per year, the premiums, what years it's been, the policy value, the surrender value, and the death benefit. So the policy value is how much the policy has accrued to. The surrender value is how much the client would get if they surrendered the policy, if they canceled the policy. So if you notice in these first coming years here, the number is significantly lower than what's actually in the policy because of the surrender fee, right? Or surrender charge. The other thing that's important is that the death benefit, since it is option 1 or level or option A, the death benefit stays the same throughout the entire time. It does not increase to include the value that's in the policy. So that's the difference there. So you can see that and also show the client. But here's the critical part, guys. When you scroll down here, right in the chart, sorry, I'm trying to see the questions. When you show right in the chart here, you see by age, where is it? You see the value of the policy is going up all the way until year 13. Okay, after year 13, the value of the policy starts to decrease because the cost of insurance is getting too high. So by 60, they have $3,700 available, which is, that's confusing. Don't look at age 60. Because by 20 years, they're 63. So, but by age 70, the value is 0. After 20 years, when they're 63, the value of the policy is only $25. Imagine telling somebody, hey, yeah, you've been paying $125 for your investments, for your retirement, for your college, for your kids. And after 20 years, there's only $25 in the investment. Like, imagine, I'm pissed, they're pissed, right? And nobody told them this when they bought the policy. They said, oh yeah, you can get this, you can have this investment. But this is critical why you guys need to understand this so you can explain this to the client. Because after this, why would they keep this policy? Why would they keep it? At this point, it's like, okay, Chanel, I get it. We got to figure out something else because obviously I don't want to keep this anymore. Right? Sometimes I'll say, okay, hey, if you've just found out that you have a hole in your pocket, do you want to continue putting money into that pocket? No, right? And so with that, guys, that's how we kind of break it down. Now, if we look at what we could have helped them do, or what we could help them do is buy term and invest the difference. So if they did that here, if they got a term policy with us, they would have saved $33 a month instead of paying $125 a month. So if they could save, if they can save that $33 a month for the next 20 years, they would have $32,000 in an investment versus $25 that was going to be left in their universal life policy. So at that point, it's done. It's done, guys. That's why also you need to make sure you have your securities license. But that's typically what we would do to kind of go through a universal life policy with a client and the things that you want to look for that I kind of went over. So if you guys have specific questions, just put them in the chat and we'll address them at the end, because now Josh is going to go over whole life.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So good job, Shondell. This is not necessarily for people on this call, but even more so for the people that we have not even recruited yet. That's who this is for. Okay. If you can become unconsciously competent with what Shondell just went through, I mean, there's no telling how high you can climb here. Yeah, you can make a lot of money. Look, if you replace 10 policies like the one that we just went over as a district leader, how much was the go back
with the premium?
Yeah,
125 minus 33.
That okay. So $90 app as a district leader pays you 550 bucks times 10, $5,000 a month, 60 grand. With no, I mean, if you get a securities license, you can quit your job off that and become the next thing that I was just watching. I was just watching something as Shondell was breaking Universal down to y'all. Another friend of mine just became a regional vice president, 26 years old in California, right? We're not learning this. I believe we're not learning this. I want to get you guys excited. We're not learning this just to, yes, we're helping families. Yes, we're saving families from certain death, but you're learning this so you can teach others how to do it. That's why you don't learn to do, you learn to teach in this business, at least. You learn to teach, right? So that you can become a regional vice president. What's crazy is, let's say Jada, who's on with us, okay, becomes a district leader on a 50% commission contract and goes and replaces one of those policies that we just went over. What's crazy is Jada will make $550, but as a regional vice president, I would make like $600 to $700, and I wasn't even there. Would you prefer Jada's $500 replacing it, or $600 to $700 not being there? Right? Just to leave a reminder as we continue, rolling, that we don't learn universal and whole life so that we can go out and do it necessarily. Yes, that's a huge thing. Remember, snap, crackle, pop. You gotta be the snap that induces the crackle in the pop. And what that means is you become a 10K producer so you can create other 10K producers, right? Snap, crackle, pop. But you got to become the snap first, become a 10K producer so that you can teach it. That's why you do this. All right. And I see Jada said she wants the override. So good. You're learning not just so you can do, but so that you can teach your future licensed producers. Whole life insurance. Okay. So with whole life insurance, to be precise, the coverage amount does not change. It does not change like universal life insurance. Death benefits and coverage amounts can change. Whole life insurance coverage amounts remain level. They remain the same. And so does the rating. Oh, okay. These are things you're looking for. My bad. Forgive me, guys. These are things you're supposed to look for when you're first picking up the policy. Okay. How much coverage do they have? Are they preferred? Are they standard? Are they tobacco? What age does it say on the policy? Because that's huge. If it says 43 years old on the policy, but they're 50